Carrie, would you please call the roll?
Delariva.
Here.
Brumback.
Here.
Fund.
Here.
Sanderson.
Here.
Patey.
Present.
Ahart. Proctor.
Here.
Drager.
Here.
Bertles.
Here. I would like to welcome our many guests this evening to our tonight's 2-hour school board special meeting. And at this time, I will ask all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow.
I'm gonna own it.
I will entertain a motion to approve the September 9th, 2024 special agenda as it has been presented this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Jinx. Double jinx. She can have the second.
Carrie, please call the roll.
Brumback.
Yes.
Fund.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Sanderson.
Yes.
Patey.
Yes.
Bertles.
Yes. At this time, the board has set aside time for anyone wishing to address the board. We have no one signed up ahead of time, and anyone at the audience like to join us tonight? Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to our discussion items, first of which is the 25-26 calendar preview, and I will turn it over to Dr. Schultz.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, tonight is being streamed. So this is our first work session. So thank you, streaming team, for being here. We appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job. So wanted to have a early conversation about the 25-26 calendar, because if you remember, we forecasted about a year ago that this was going to be a different calendar because of construction. And so I'm passing out what I'm going to call you is draft 1, because this is, like I said, really early conversation. But I also want to remind the board, because one of the things I'm going to ask is, how do you want to get feedback? And do you want to do anything differently than we've done before? And after the in the 22-23 school year, we did a community survey. And we got 2,300 responses to that survey. And we asked about structure of the calendar. And the structure questions were really designed to help just give us a structure to build future calendars so people could plan and kind of know what the schedule is going to look like, what the calendar is going to look like. And we asked questions about the starting day of school. We asked questions about when they wanted parent-teacher conferences. We asked about winter break and kind of the structure around winter break. We asked about spring break and whether, because we had had a conversation about aligning with SIUE or staying in that kind of Easter week. And then we asked about the Monday after Easter. And those are really important questions as we look at the structure of the 25-26 calendar, because we are starting a week later than normal. So we have that August 20th start, and everything construction-wise has been planned backwards from being able to turn the building over that Thursday or Friday before to our principals for open houses and mascot welcomes, things like that. So if you just jump to the very bottom, you will see that the end of fourth quarter is May 29th. So yay, it doesn't say June, right? That's good. But that is 4 days following Memorial Day, which we typically have never gone past Memorial Day. So I'm asking for this input. We normally have multiple input groups that we go to. We have a committee that we work with our EA. We have our teacher advisory we get input from, obviously from our administrators. But we certainly have plenty of days that we could go and peck out 4 different days so that we could get out before Memorial Day. But that's not what our community said from a structure standpoint. But we didn't ask, instead of getting out after Memorial Day, would you prefer to do this or this? I think in many ways it would be a lot like the graduation conversation. We would see probably a small majority, but I don't know that there would be a clear majority, because even when we look back at our survey, there were people that had opinions all over the place. And all the days in here that are, I'll call it the like conference days, institute days, those are pretty interchangeable. They all count as a school day, so it doesn't really matter. You know, like where parent-teacher conferences are, we could move them to a November 10th and the Friday before, and you have a 5-day break there, and take it out of the Halloween time, although that seemed to have worked really well. But it's really the days like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the 22nd and 23rd of December. Those are potential school day attendance days. The day after spring break or taking a shorter spring break. Those are all things that could be on the table if we want to talk about those 4 days. So that puts the last possible day at June 5th and graduation probably more like June 7th. There's 2 dates listed there, and those are both Sundays. So just wanted a little bit of feedback from the board on how you wanted us to navigate feedback, if at all differently than we have before, knowing that the schedule is going to look a little different. The other part of this conversation is that when do we make that shift back? And so we're looking at 26, and can that happen in 26, or do we need those, I'll call it a full summer in 26, and then it's 27. So we're looking at that right now. Once we get bid package 4 back, which is this month, within a couple months, we'll have a good idea of the timing of the rest of the projects as it relates to Lincoln, as well as other projects. And so we'll be able to forecast that out a little bit more as we move on. So, but for now, 25, 26.
So this is a 1 week shift.
1 week shift.
1 week shift. And it's because we need more time in the summer for projects, assuming the projects happen on schedule.
Correct.
So really, your question is, really the start date is a given. We're not going to change that.
Correct.
So the question is, do we want to go that extra week later versus taking out different days during the school year?
The question really is, how do you want us
How
to
do you
get
want to
feedback?
communicate? Okay, gotcha.
Because, again, knowing just the conversation from last year and the conversations I had with teachers, I know we have some teachers that the earlier they can get out in the summer, the better. And we have another group of teachers that say, I want every single possible break. I don't care how long we go. I like the breaks and the 3-day weekends and the holidays. So the question is, which one carries more weight, if any of them do, or do we just go ahead with our normal feedback process and then bring it back to the board with a recommendation?
I think it's important to get feedback from the students.
Yeah.
High school students, I would think younger than that, maybe middle school, but obviously the kindergartners, first grade don't have a grasp on it.
What schools are impacted by the construction that's causing the change in the day?
So potentially Columbus, Glen Carbon, LeClaire, Nelson, the high school.
That's where we're doing
And
all
Lincoln.
of the,
And Lincoln,
that's the
And
obvious.
Lincoln.
The double entry safety.
yeah, and
Columbus and
potentially
Lincoln.
Hamel. And some of this is what asbestos abatement's needed, because that will have to be somehow spaced out with crews, and then how much time do we need to go back and redo what they undid with asbestos. So it's a large number of schools this summer.
Okay.
I guess. I think it's important to get feedback from families, parents, students, like I said.
Teachers,
Staff,
faculty,
yep.
not just teachers, faculty that are impacted by it.
So in whatever form of surveying
So a
or-
large survey, again, just because of the calendar change.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
When do we need to make a decision by?
We usually bring a draft in December and then approve in January.
It also helps to remind people that this is going to happen too, because they may have.
And the survey would give us an opportunity to do that, because we
Yeah.
can front load,
Yeah.
as you recall from last year.
Especially people planning vacations
Uh-huh.
and events,
Yeah.
graduation parties.
It would be nice, just as speaking as one of those families that does plan a lot of vacations in
Yeah.
advance,
Yeah.
if we could also know what's going to happen in 26, 27.
Yeah.
So that's our opportunity to forecast. We see this structure staying the same for only a year or 2 years, or anticipate moving back to our typical start date, because in the survey, 40% of our families said they'd prefer to start earlier in the year, in August. So we know that, and that was the biggest percentage. It was 40, 39, and 21, and the 21 was August 7th.
Oh, like
So it was
that
like
earlier
a week,
than what we already
earlier.
started.
Yep.
Like,
Okay.
oh, wow, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when we gave them a date, 51% said the third Wednesday. 19 the second Wednesday, 24 the fourth Wednesday.
And in that survey, did you ask about ending before or after Memorial?
We did not.
Okay,
We did not because,
We need to hear about.
but this time you will?
This time we will.
Because that's the main thing.
would you prefer to end before Memorial Day and take fewer breaks, or take bigger breaks and have to go after Memorial Day?
Because like your Easter break or spring break includes that Monday,
It does.
so potentially
So that's
Yeah.
one day, but there aren't.
they're not allowed to pick.
So Terry just identified the biggest problem is you have to identify, if you're not going to identify 4 days, you might as well just go
Yeah.
go the 4
What's
days,
matter,
right?
It's 1 day or 3.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you're going after Memorial Day, you're going after Memorial Day. So, but you can do it if you identify the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the
Okay.
day after spring break, 22nd, 23rd of December, or Monday and Tuesday of spring break and go take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday off. I mean, there's certain things you can do to make up, to create the 4 days.
You can also move your teacher institutes. Teachers would then come, not necessarily students. If you had your October 31st and your, what is that?
January
5th. Well, that's not
To the
super
end of the
ideal.
year, you're
It's just
saying?
for a year.
To the end of the year?
It goes to the end of the year. And then
That's
that
a-
moves 2 days at least for students.
So right now, why not also ask the question, because June 5th would put you, if you used your 5 days, correct?
Correct.
So why not ask the question, if there is an inclement weather day,
E-learning.
automatically, no matter whether it's snowing or not, we go e-learning and take the days back, and you can take the days back right away. Instead of, I think, what did we say, we were gonna do X, like,
Yeah.
what, 5 days?
Yeah.
of-
And that was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
You know, how do we deal with, you know, I mean, climate change, whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, it could be a freakishly cold winter
Yeah.
and tons of snow.
And you know what's
So-
interesting is before we did an e-learning day, overwhelmingly people had told us they wanted the first day to be a day off. And the minute we did our first e-learning
yeah,
day,
they wanted-
nobody wanted another day off. They were like, that was great. It would, and we had great attendance that day.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I,
'cause-
it'd
and
be
they don't
interesting
go
to
all
see.
day long, and it's not like they don't go all day long. You
Right.
guys are done by a reasonable time.
Well,
Play the
yeah,
snow.
and I guess to that point though, I was just kind of wondering, I mean, from as far as the start of the school period, I mean, couldn't we do it remote for the first week? I mean, to make up some of that time, is that not?
You can only use those days for inclement weather.
Okay.
You can't use them for snow.
Or extenuating circumstances like a gas leak or
Yeah.
like something like we've done that.
Or a
for 1 day.
pandemic or.
Yeah.
Gasoline.
Across all 13 buildings.
Okay.
That, the one question, because I had already brought this up with the students I meet with, is about finals and the potential of having finals after winter break. And they all said resoundingly, no.
Yeah,
Resoundingly no.
that's just mean and cruel.
Because
So
if you have to study like on vacation and take a final when you get back, that
Yeah.
might just
That
ruin
is the
your
worst.
Well,
vacation.
and also families go do things over the holidays
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah.
that's,
So-
yeah, that's not a good.
So this calendar does keep 89 days in the first semester. So it's not that big of an imbalance between first semester and second semester.
That's
Would there
interesting. It wasn't that long ago we did do finals after, in middle of January.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Really?
helpful.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess for soliciting comment though, and I mean, there are various ways you can do it. I mean, do you submit multiple calendars and say, which one do you like? Or do you, I worry about like the whole if-then statement of questions in a survey that can be interpreted three
Yeah.
different ways when you finally get it and go, I don't know what to do, you know? So, I
So-
think in some ways it would be helpful if there were like an option A, B, C,
Yeah.
and D kind of deal. I don't know, you know, from a.
Whenever we meet.
With a description
So
of
that's-
what each
Yes,
what
with
each
the
one
details.
means.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do with our input groups, is we try to put some different options together, and invariably, and I like that idea, invariably, they come back with option E when you give them A through D, right? Well, but why don't you do this and this and this and this and this? And there's, you know, there are a lot of things around school calendars that people don't understand. You know, there are days like on this one, January 2nd, I believe, is a Friday. We could come back on January 2nd, but if it was like December 26th, that's a holiday in one of our contracts. So there's things like that that are difficult to explain to people to understand. finals over a weekend, what that means for seniors, finals at the end of the year. There are parts of this that are school code driven, parts that aren't school code driven, that are just more historical. So
So you were saying that the first semester is 89 days?
I believe that's right.
Which-
When they're at K 4, carry forward 45.
Sounds about,
That sound about right?
very close, yes.
And then I think it was 41, 40, whatever the math. Let's see. 176 minus 89 is what second semester is.
Okay.
So 87 days.
So that's, no, that surprises me. I was thinking the second semester was going to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, me too.
So for those employees that host Christmas, taking away the 22nd and 23rd is going to be hard for them.
For those employees who host Thanksgiving, taking the Wednesday
Exactly,
before
that
would be very
Wednesday.
difficult.
Correct.
Or for people who travel.
Well,
And so, as you put it, I think, was it maybe your first year here that we were struggling with absenteeism on Fridays and things
Mhm.
like that? And to me, if we elect not to have school on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving,
You're asking
We're-
for absence rates to be really high that day. Yeah,
the next
absolutely.
logical thing is going to be
Yeah.
absent.
for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we will do a community-wide survey, and we'll separate it by students, teachers, and parents. We'll ask about inclement weather. We'll try to put together maybe a couple different options of what, maybe one extreme and the other extreme, and then make sure we communicate that. Obviously, there's other days in here that come into play that we'll have to work through.
Okay.
And then we'll bring that information along with some recommendations back in December for you to see before you approve it here.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And so this is available for parents and everybody to see on the website, on the District 7 website?
It is not yet, but we will, when we get the survey done, we'll have those options and we'll put it out there.
Okay.
Okay. So discussion point number 2 this evening is around our goal 4. So this year, we're going to be providing, over the course of the school year, a report on each of the goals of the strategic plan to give the board some information on what has been accomplished thus far and what is going on with those. And we'll do an extensive one at a work session, and then we'll do an abbreviated version at the regular board meeting. That'll be more, I'll call it the 5-minute cliff note version. So tonight we have Mary Ann with us to talk about goal 4.
Goal 4, yes. So good evening, everybody. Like Dr. Shelton said, we're going to talk about goal 4 of the strategic plan, which is about family and community engagement. The goal of goal 4 is that we will develop and strengthen genuine connections and partnerships that will produce positive outcomes excuse me, with students, families, educators, and the community. And within goal 4, there's kind of 4 different areas: community support, parent partnership, family engagement, and then communication with all stakeholders. Tonight I'm going to talk about 3 different things that we've kind of done throughout the last few years. Website and analytics of that, communication alignment, and then community engagement. So if you remember, back in December we launched our new website, so it's about 9 months old now. At that time we wanted a website that had a modern and responsive design and was easy to navigate and also accessible on any device, including like a mobile device. We also wanted a website that would tell the District 7 story and align with our branding, anything from being able to share a variety of stories and photos that were going on, of things that were going on in the district. So we decided to work with Final Site, which is the leading K-12 education website platform. They work with over 7,000 schools across the country, like us, and are specialized in education websites. So we worked with them, and in addition to all the things that I had mentioned, having that easy navigation, the modern design, the responsive website, we also added some new features, including the enhanced language translation. So if you go to our website and you don't speak English, you can change the entire website to, I think we have 4 or 5 different languages in there, and the whole website will change to that language. So it's very nice for our families in the district that are non-English speaking. And we also have some more robust calendars that are a little bit easier to navigate and update and provide a little bit more information. One other thing that we're able to do with the new website is have Google Analytics. So with this, we can see how many people are using the website and what they're looking at. And the later part of what they're looking at being kind of important in some of the design aspects. If you recall our website, there's a lot of different little icon buttons that you can go to that are kind of the quick access to go to a page without having to go through the navigation. So just being able to kind of use the analytics to see what people are looking at and having those buttons reflect what people are looking at to have them get there pretty quickly. So when we initially did design the website, we kind of made a guess, but now that we have those analytics, we are able to go through and change what some of those quick icon and buttons are. So if we take a look at some of our analytics, and this is just kind of a high level since we launched back in December, you can see that we're averaging about 18,777 users a month. And a user is any person who has visited your website. Over that time, we've also had 970,000 views.
Are those unique users or anytime you go
They're
to
not.
duplicate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we do have it set on the Google Analytics that it does not pull internal users. So somebody like me who's on the website a lot, it's not tracking that I'm on there multiple times a day.
So are they dropping cookies and stuff to track usage and all that?
That I don't know. I'm just high level.
So if you have, like, we have a school device, it's not gonna, it won't count us.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And then our average engagement time is 1 minute 43 seconds. I don't know how that averages with other school districts at all, but
Doesn't seem very long,
it doesn't.
to me anyway.
It does not, no. But I'm assuming people go, get what they need, and they leave. Because if you look, if you kind of dig in further too, like, and you can see how long people are on different pages, it's not very long. Even with different stories that I post, they're not reading it. They're probably just skimming it, which most people do anyway, right?
Looking at the picture.
Yeah, or they look at the pictures.
Yeah.
This, like I said, is just a quick snapshot since the launch. So this is the full 9 months. With Google Analytics, you can break it down by different months, by different days. So like for instance, in our first month, we had 23,000 users. And then during June, it had dropped to like 4,600 and some. So you can kind of tell when it's high and when it's different, when it's low. And then you can also see some different trends that go on with the website. That first one there was really interesting because that was January 15th, the day before we had an e-learning day. And so you can see like how it just spiked because obviously in the communication we had put in there that here's the e-learning plan, go to the website and find out where your kid needs to be and all the information that you need for school that day. So we had a lot of users that day. And then right before school started again, it kind of ramped up when we announced schedules and teacher assignments and that sort of thing. And then you can also see the top pages since we did launch. Kind of consistently there, it's always going to be our homepage. That's where people, if they're just going to ECUSD 7, that's where they're going to land right away. But then like the PowerSchool Parent Portal and Calendar, those two, no matter what time frame you put in, those are always top of the list. Those are two of the things that people tend to go to a lot. And then obviously a lot at the high school, probably just because of the population, there's a lot more students there. And employment's kind of a big one as well, which is why we have an employment button on all of our school web pages as well. And this is just the 11 through 20. And it literally goes, you can just go and go and go and look at all the pages. There's also a search option, so like if I want to see how a page is doing, I can just type it in there instead of having to go look and scroll through multiple pages to find what we're looking for. This is about the device use, like I talked about earlier. Having a website that is mobile friendly and responsive to mobile devices. You can see that 60% of our users are using our website on their mobile device, whereas only 38% are using it on their desktop.
So there are 19 web smart TVs out there accessing our website.
There's way more than
Really?
that.
Have you ever tried to do YouTube on yours too? It's like,
Right,
No
I
way.
thought that'd be a little
No way.
confusing as well.
although the dictation feature is pretty cool.
Yeah.
District 7.
And then obviously you can see it by browser as well, so. And then they also tell you how people get to your website. So there's an organic search, which is your search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing. Direct is if you go to ECUSD7.org. You also have people that come in through Facebook. We put a link up there to drive them back to the website, which now that we have a nice website, I try to do that a little bit more. And then, so speaking of what they're searching for, I get this report every month as well of what people are typing in Google to try and find our website. So interestingly, there's like 4 different things up there about Power School, and you can tell that that is one of our, obviously, top landing pages. So that's where people are trying to go to the parent portal. You can also have the option of looking at real time. So during the day, sometimes it'll just pull this up to see how many people are on our website, what they're looking at the time. When I screenshot of this, obviously you can see there are 11 people on the Power School parent portal. You can kind of see the other pages that people are looking at. When it tells you like how many users there are in the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and so forth. Any questions on the website?
I have one.
Okay.
Well, right now I just have one. The athletics department. So are there plans to expand that to include the individual teams? Because I know a lot of coaches struggle with
Yes.
maintaining the Wix pages.
You do.
And
it's
I
same
hear a
with
lot about that. you know,
performing
'cause-
arts
And parents are
and
begging to
extra
help and
curriculars.
they're not allowed. So, I mean,
There is that option, and we have definitely talked about that. I've gone through the summer and kind of tracked which of those sites are not being updated, and I've started removing those. And then I think the plan is to try and start with a few sports or a few activities.
yeah, because I know
Get those
a lot of
online.
times it's on the coach to update. And if you're a particular team that maybe has had a high turnover,
Yeah.
I mean, like the girls' track website can't get updated. It hasn't been updated for like 6 years.
Or,
So-
yeah, even I think earlier this year, somebody in the music department asked me to update their page. It was a Wix 6 page or whatever. I'm like, I don't even have access to this, so I don't
Yeah.
know who's
Well, and
updating it.
they have to go out and do it individually, and they've got, and if the person left the
Correct.
school, then you don't have access to it, and so you
Yep.
can't access it. Meanwhile, all that historical data of, particularly like a particular sport where they have records and stuff, the coach was the one that was going in and updating the records, and now that's all like somewhere.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's a big burden for a coach to
I
manage.
agree, and particularly, if you have a coach who's not an actual teacher and doesn't have access or a device to do that. So,
What do you call these buttons that are kind of in the middle of the page?
Of our website,
Uh-huh.
like the,
Calendar menus.
those are called font icons,
Okay,
is what they refer to it as in
okay, thank you.
the user manual.
All I know is so much easier to navigate. Like, I actually can look for something, if I need to know something, I actually can find it. It's how it should be, not.
And I continue to refine stuff all the time. Like, people will reach out and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about putting this here or moving this, or could we do this instead of that? And if it makes sense, yeah, we'll change it. If it fits the data, especially. I think early, after we had launched, I think it was a parent that reached out to me, and there's a contact us button for each of the schools. They're like, we use this a lot. Is there a way that you can put this more where it's more accessible? And I was like, sure. So I went back and I looked on the back of our website and see how many people were using that button, how many they were filling out the form, and I was like, yeah, it's getting used a lot. We can definitely move that. So
in my world, the metric is 3 clicks. If you can get to whatever you need in 3 clicks, you've solved the problem. So,
I'm an impatient person.
I know,
Yeah.
right? I'm like,
It's
yeah,
a hard
that's one
click
right
too,
there.
by the way. But I can also appreciate the fact that you are keeping this updated with updated pictures, and not just,
And news.
Like
Yeah,
a man,
absolutely,
Yeah.
you know.
absolutely. Where most people just defer, just look at our Facebook page. You're actually, scrolling them through, so I enjoy that when I look at it.
Okay, so the next part here is communication alignment. So this year we've kind of put an emphasis on improving communication to our families from our schools. And while many principals had been great in the past with their weekly newsletters, we kind of noticed that there had been some variation from school to school, not in just what the presentation was, but what information was being shared. Some of it was outdated, some of it wasn't consistent. And in order just to kind of have that consistent messaging, we kind of put together more of an aligned approach this year for all 13 of our schools. So why alignment matters, just it ensures consistent messaging across the district. Like I said, it builds credibility with families and it enhances brand and identity. Kind of brings their school together as one.
Can I jump in and add
Yeah.
something? So one of the things we heard from some of our families who had kids in 3 different buildings was that because of both the structure of the newsletter and the timing of the newsletter, rather than look in each school's newsletter for what they needed, they just didn't read any of it because it became so cumbersome. So trying to align it not only between levels but between buildings helped just make sure that families know exactly where the information is going to be contained in a newsletter and they can get to it easily.
I will say I like knowing now, because I picked up on the trend, that Sunday afternoon I'm getting an email from the high school about what's going on, and I like that.
Yeah, before it was really inconsistent. We always had those schools that were always
Yeah.
Friday at 5 or Friday at 4 and then randomly here throughout the
Yeah.
weekend. And now
Well,
it's-
Sunday's a good time because I'm relaxed.
It is,
and
yeah.
I can go through and look at stuff, and
Yep.
it's a good time.
and paired.
So I was just going to say that our board reports are also
They are.
um,
Yep.
formatted.
So they did ask for that as well.
So-
You probably noticed that.
Yeah, which I like that.
Yep. So we decided to go with s'more, not s'mores like the graham crackers, but it's s'more that does newsletters. So it's it's a very user-friendly platform for creating visually appealing newsletters. Kind of like when you're on Facebook or social media, you go from top to bottom, you're scrolling. It's the same thing with the s'more newsletter when you're reading it. You go top to bottom, you're not jumping all over the page, so it's just very consistent. It also allows for a consistent format while giving each school the flexibility to still tell its unique story. And I think you can see that in each of our newsletters is that there is that format there, but each school is different and they still are able to tell their own story. That was one thing that I really did not want to take away from them because they are 13 unique schools and have their own story to tell and their own things going on. And again, translation is another big thing with s'more. You can go to that and I think they have like any language in there at all that you could choose from, and it literally translates the whole newsletter for families, which is crazy, yes.
It's a brave new world.
Do teachers get access to that? When you get the subscription, is it just building principal
Yes.
only?
So we just, we kind of have a small mini team right now,
Okay.
but yes, you could go whole school if you wanted. Right now, we just have our principals, and then after a couple of weeks, knowing that principals were having some of their APs and interns work on newsletters as well, and it was making it hard for them to use the same login, we did expand it to our APs and interns, so we do have all those people on there. So if you kind of look at our newsletter, there is a consistent format, like I said. Each newsletter follows the same format. There's a calendar of upcoming dates that kind of leads it off. Then there's this week's highlights, a know, do, and connect. So anything that parents need to know for that upcoming week, anything that parents need to do, and then connect is kind of like the PTO news or connect with us on our Facebook page, that sort of thing. School news, anything that is related to the school specifically. Fundraiser sale coming up, wear your t-shirts on this day, those sort of things. Around the school are different things that are happening. I kind of try and tell principals, this is a good place where you can also recycle information, put it on Facebook, put it on here. Not everybody's going to see it in both places, and even if they do, then sometimes you need to see it multiple times to catch the grips of it anyway. But around school is just the things that are happening in the school to give an inside look of the daily activities. And then district news, we put this year knowing that sometimes people don't always read our news, they're gonna read the newsletter hopefully, and so we can put some different things in there. We also put our virtual book backpack in district news, and that's where we have all the flyers and brochures of events that might be going around town that we don't send home with parents.
Does it post it on social media as well?
The newsletter? We do not post those in the newsletter.
So with the newsletters, I'm looking at the district website. Is it linked anywhere?
The newsletters?
Wondering if that would be something that could be added to the Our Schools.
It could be, because you can link directly to each folder within SMORE for like Liberties, like has all their newsletters there. I have seen that with other schools as well.
Well, I know that we put an update in our board report. It would almost make sense to link it within the board report if we could, or that way they don't have to create a whole new report. It's got the newsletter right there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And that would be a lot easier for them too.
Time
saving, yeah.
Yeah, that,
Principals would love
you know
that.
what, that would take the pressure off of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would love
Having
that.
to do that.
Yeah, because they do, most of what they
Awesome
put in that
idea.
board report is something that has been.
And already
in the
their
newsletter
newsletter
somewhere.
double doing the work.
Yeah,
So
But the
just
newsletter
the-
is weekly, where the board report is monthly.
is monthly,
So it wouldn't replace it, I guess, is what I
Couldn't
would.
you just do a file with all 4 in there and for each school, and then we just look each week and look at each one? I mean, if you're gonna look at one,
If
why
it-
not look at 4?
If it eases the burden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
right.
it still
Provides the
provides the
information.
information.
Provides
That's- Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can drag and drop it or something, see, I'm not even clicking.
That's just crazy.
My God.
That's just crazy.
And like Bob alluded to, these do come out at 5 o'clock on Sundays, every single one. So if you get all 13 of them, your email goes ding, 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 ding.
And every Sunday, you're still getting used to it, and you're like, what is going on? My email's blowing up.
Well, it's nice because it's all
It
right
is.
there. If you've
Yeah.
got kids in multiple
Yeah.
schools, it's right there.
Yep.
How does it come, does it say, does it come with the s'more, or does it
No,
come?
it comes as a newsletter, like, if you subscribe to any newsletter, that comes to your inbox, and it just kind of looks nice and flows. You
Oh,
can
okay.
click on it, and it'll take you to the website where you can translate it and do all that stuff up
Okay.
there.
The first day I opened it, I was like, whoa, that's nice. Yeah, it was
Okay. No,
good.
that's
And they can finish it whenever and schedule
They
it,
can,
right?
yeah,
That's
so they're
nice.
not working on Sunday afternoon at
Yeah.
4:55 to hit send.
Yeah.
You can schedule it.
Dr. Shelton has them working late.
4:58.
No, you can schedule it. Any questions on that?
No.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Community engagement. So District 7 has been out in the community pretty much quite a bit this summer. So this idea came from a steering committee member a couple years ago who suggested that we have a tent at some different events, different festivals, carnivals, that sort of thing in some of our different communities. And so we finally put that plan together this year. And this summer we were at the Route 66 Festival, the Glen Carbon Homecoming, we had somebody at Prairie Town World's Fair, at Warden Homecoming, we've been at the Goshen Market one time a month, and then later in September we will be at Unity Fest. So we had District 7 staff members, steering committee members, and then some student advisory members as well, kind of volunteer just one shift, which was 2 hours this summer, to come out and man the table. And these are some of the different giveaways that we had. The
Everybody
mini
loved the
tigers, the mini tigers going like hotcakes. Like
bet
people
they
just come from all over to get those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're squishy, so they're soft and they're really cute. But we also have pens and pencils, bracelets, and I mean, I like the box of crayons. I think they're kind of cute. Little kids like those ones too.
How's the response? Like, are people coming up and asking questions, or?
Yeah, yes and no, not a ton. But yes, we also do have a card, handout card for adults that has information on our 24-25 strategic plan priorities, and then some information about the district numbers on the back. And we've been able to sign a few people up for our District 7 e-news as well. We do have people that come up and ask about jobs a lot, because we'll have a thing there that will take them to the employment website. I think it just depends on the crowd too. I know one day at the Goshen Market, Kurt Schumacher was working the table, and he just had so many people come up to him because he's obviously been a teacher and a principal for so long. He's like, I just talked to so many people, and this has been so great. But yeah, people will come up and talk and interact, and they'll want the Tigers.
I was at the Glen Carvin
Yeah.
homecoming, sitting at the tent there, and we had, again, people coming in because of when it was the end of a school year. People came by to ask about jobs. We did have a parent that came by that wanted to talk to us about a concern that they had, and thankfully there was an administrator with me who, pulled them over to the side and got the information to share. But most of the interactions were really positive. Kids were excited to see their school district, and definitely loved the Tigers. But it was really good. Former employees stopped by and said, "Oh, we used to work there."
Yeah, I think we had, I think it was with Goshen Market again, but we had somebody help somebody finish registration there. How to complete that.
At work.
One-stop shop. Yeah. So it's been good. And then a couple other community-wide type things. The District 7 Digest, obviously we did that in December as a way to connect with all district households, not just the families of District 7, but everybody, to kind of give them an idea of what's going on in the district, especially with a lot of the construction that's going on. And then District 7 e-news is something that we are slowly starting. We have 18 people, I think, signed up now, which was 10 more than we had a week ago, so that's good. But we'll start sending out like the board summary reports that we've been doing, and then eventually we'll kind of have its own little news format as well, with hopefully like once a month with some different highlights from different schools that are going on. So,
And how do people sign up for that?
they can go to the website. There's not a link, but it was in the last board report. So it's been at a lot of the different summer events as well, and kind of as we get going, we'll promote that a little bit more as well.
Okay.
And you're on Instagram and Facebook.
We are on Instagram and Facebook, yeah. People can go there to get all the news they want as well.
No TikTok yet, huh? You're not gonna do videos and go dance and stuff?
No.
So as far as for the engagement and the alignment, I guess categories, the question I have is about me, because everything you're saying, I think it's a great direction, but making sure that the style of communication, or at least what's being communicated, is hitting the mark. Or is there any kind of like surveys that go out and say, are you feeling like you know what's going on, and are there things we can add, or that kind of stuff?
We did have a survey that went out in our summer mailing, with the postcard that went out right after the 4th of July to kind of remind people of registration. And there was a survey on there. Unfortunately, did not yield as many results as we wanted.
You get points for trying, though.
Thanks. So we probably have a little bit of data from that, but I think now that we've got a few more communication tools, especially with all the newsletters from the schools and doing the District 7 Digest, and with the newsletter, hopefully we can start surveying people at the end of the year just to see if it's making an impact and doing what it's supposed to, and people are getting what they need.
Well, I've seen other newsletters, like at the bottom of each one, say, are there things that you would like to know that you're not hearing about, that kind of stuff, or a topic that's important to you, kind of stuff that we can, stuff. So,
One of the things we heard last year after we put out the District 7 Digest was we had a lot of feedback from people who said, I finally am hearing something from the district because they're not connected with kids. So that's kind of where the district e-news came out of, is how can we find a way to engage with people who we otherwise don't have an opportunity to engage and get information out there.
And I think sometimes too, like you always say, yeah, there's the website, there's Facebook, but people are so busy and they just would rather sometimes get that quick email on their phone where they can scroll through what they want to read and kind of have it all in one-stop shop for them. So you kind of have to meet people where their communication needs are too. So.
And you are going to do the digest, is it annually or twice?
Annually.
Okay. I didn't remember if the card that you sent out, if that was considered, I know it didn't have near the information as the flyer thing, but.
Yeah, the digest is more of a newsletter, print newsletter type thing, and the postcard was just a postcard. I think more to get people to register with our early registration deadline, which I think it helps
It worked,
tremendously. So,
Good.
But to the general public, the mailings that you did send out, I think as a person who's, you go from a person that, like myself, who all my kids are in school and you're constant communication, and then one day, the last one graduates and you're like, you don't hear anything, and it's kind of hard. It's hard. You want to you want to keep up on it. I mean, obviously, I'm in a different position that I know a little bit more than the average person, but it's nice that you're not just a taxpayer. You're, actually trying to be engaged in something. So seeing that you're not asking me for anything on those when those come in. You're telling me what has been done, not asking me for things. I can appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mary Ann? All right. Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Mary Ann,
Thank you.
I got something for you.
Okay.
And those are our two discussion items, so we will move on to action considerations. First is the approval of action item 3.1. Dr. Sheldon.
Thank you. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve personnel matters related to the resignations and retirements of employees as presented earlier.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any questions? Please call the roll.
Sanderson,
Yes.
Fund,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes.
Brumback,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bertles.
Yes. Approval of action item 3.2. Dr. Sheldon.
Thank you. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve personnel matters related to the appointment, employment, compensation, or transfer of employees, pending required certifications and professional educator license, completion of paperwork, and all background fingerprint checks completed and cleared.
Move for approval. Second.
Any questions on that? Please call the roll.
Delariva,
Yes.
Brumback,
Yes.
Fund,
Yes.
Sanderson,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Bertles.
Yes. With no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for spending your evening.